Hey, I'm back real quick. This is a quick video to add interest to the terrain piece where we have that little poster. Where is that at? In this area right here, I'm going to have an executed skeleton, or he was like a guardsman. But I'm using a skeleton. This is from War Games Factory, I guess Skeleton Warriors. Best skeletons out there, the most detailed and the most versatile too. This one, I'm making it look like it's going to be, I'm trying to get his hands tied behind his back. I'll use some thread for that. I already drilled a hole in the back of his head to simulate a bullet hole. And I'm going to do a bigger one in the back of the head showing the exit wound. And I'm not sure if you'll even be able to see that because I think he'd be laying face first on the ground. And I already have the torso and the hips and the legs glued together. I cut one of the knee joint and reposition it so it lays flat. So now, off camera, I'll be cutting the feet, laying those down, how they would be situated, and also I'm trying to figure out how to get these arms behind the back and look like they're tied, and then have the head and do the exit wound. So when I come back, I'll hopefully have that shown to you, then we'll get them all glued together, then primed and put down. Thanks for joining me. Okay, we got the skeleton coming together a little bit better. I got that broken leg I redid. I got the arms positioned like they're being tied behind the back. I might use rope like that or have rope go all around the body. I got some black thread that looks like rope to scale to them. You look at that. Looks like a thicker, like a tow rope. They could have, some Chaos soldiers could have tied him up and around his waist and executed him. The feet, I still haven't positioned yet. Those will be on eventually. I might put one like away from it, like this bones have been deteriorating. The head, we can see that. There is the entrance wound from the back of the head. And then I just finished carving out, ooh. Lost that, hold on 1 second. Oh. See if we can do this again. And I used the drill, well, the pin vise again, but then I took and used an X-Acto blade and carved out so it looks like the skull plumed out from the shot. So that's where I am right now. I'll be back in a bit, hopefully get this thing assembled, and then get it modeled with that rope and get it primed and ready to paint. And then we'll position it in the model eventually. Thanks for joining me. Let's all be very quiet because our little friend here is taking a very long dirt dump. I got the skeleton put together. I haven't done the rope yet, but I got the basic structure all laid out and glued. He's actually drying right now. I love how that face has got that distended look on the jaw. The jaw's all slacked like it screamed or something like that. Very disturbing, but very good for what the effect I'm going for. I'll pull it back a little bit. It'll be under the poster. Maybe we'll do some old, get some brownish red and spray some blood through there off the brush with an airbrush to simulate, old blood stains. And maybe have like a helmet or some kind of a Imperial Guard memorabilia on the ground next to it. This is something that will add a little fun. I like all my terrain pieces. I act some little piece of interest that you don't see on a lot of terrain pieces. And once again, this is from the War Games Factory, their skeleton set. Awesome skeletons. You can do a very versatile. Obviously I'm using it for 40K, but it can be used in any war game scenario to add, interest to your dungeon or your battlefield or your diorama. So that'll be it. I'm keeping this as like this will be part 14, I believe. Or no, this is part, let's make this a supplement to part 12. I think I have part 13 kind of brewing still. We'll be back in a while. Thanks. Hey, I'm back real quick. I wrestled the thread. Wasn't easy. I got it around him a few times. I tried to do knots. That's not going to work. So what I did was I just made it, the ends going on his chest, what's going to be, glued to the ground, and super glued it and ran some little drops of super glue all through the thread just to harden it up a little bit. So when it'll take primer good, and then we'll hit it with some paint and go from there. So he's basically done, and then we'll come back in a little bit. We'll show him prime, then we'll paint him up. Thanks. Hey, we're back, and I I just primed up some gray aerosol primer down in the old garage. Got a nice little hole in his head. It turned out pretty cool. Just, you know, I drilled it out, then used the X-Acto to sculpt it a little bit. And then got the nice little entrance wound in the back. I got that black thread tied around. And I couldn't tie a knot with it. I'm not that talented. So I just kind of laid it down, put a couple beads of super glue on it, then trimmed off the ends. So it looks like he was just like laying there and someone wrapped a rope around him so he couldn't get away. And blasted him. I'm going to paint him up. I'm probably going to use these colors. I got the Master Series Bone Shadow. We got Aged Bone. And then Polished Bone. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the ropes. I might even take something, like something's got a little more yellow in it to give it like a little ropes looking thing. Maybe even some of the old, or not the old, but the Vallejo bone color. Where do I have that at? Got the bone white. That bone white compared to the other ones, so we'll give it more of like a colder color, and then we'll warm the rope up a little bit. We're going to do washes on it and everything too. So we use the Vallejo bone white on that rope. We might yellow it up a little bit more. I got other colors we could use. There's another one I like over here. The Vallejo model color line. I got some yellow sand. That might be even a better choice. Let's do that. That'll give it more of a contrast. And then we'll hit that with a dirty wash, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to go paint them up a little bit, and then I'll be back. Thanks. Yeah, I decided to share in the fun and excitement about airbrushing this little guy. What I'm doing right now, I'm just loading up my airbrush. I'm using the Renegade Velocity as usual, my little go-to. And I got the 85% alcohol, or 85% distilled water, 15% alcohol mix going in first. Just put a few drops of that. Then I'm going in with the Bone Shadow from Reaper. About 3 drops to about probably 6 drops of that mix. This is pretty thick paint. And just stirring it up in the cup, which I usually don't do, but this, I just want to get it done. And this is not some kind of intricate thing. This is going to be like a little piece of detail, and it's probably going to be weathered over a little bit anyways. So let's check out our paint consistency. Maybe a little too wet. We'll see. See how it works on him. I probably need more paint. This is like too watery. So we just got, see, we didn't mix anything up because paint's a little bit too thin, so we're going to thicken it up a little bit. So I think it's going to be like 6 drops, 6 drops. So we're just going to kind of reducing it by 100%. Alright, well, let's try out again. So we have that next little spot kind of raised. You can see it start buckling the paper out of the way. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. Let's try it on our little friend here. Whoa. Again, this guy's going to blow away off the paper. I don't hold them, so we can just use the air to dry them off. We'll hit him with some paint. Let's flip them over. Guys, we got that little leg right there. and this air. You see a video just rendered in the background. I'll have that up in a few minutes. Going on some pigment little thing I did for a couple of minutes. I had a comment on the terrain and what kind of pigments I use. I'll cover that. So we got a good little base coat on him. I think we're probably going to do the rest and all be dry brushing. Except for the ropes, we'll get in there with a different color. So he's got a nice dark coat on him now. And then, yeah, we used all the paint too. Nice. Perfect time, or perfect amount. So I'll be back in a bit. Thanks for joining me. See you in a couple seconds. Okay, we're back. We're going to give this guy a little quick dry brush with the aged bone. Then we're going to hit it, highlight it with the polished bone. And we're going to go in and use a yellow sand on the rope and see how that works for us. I'm going to try to get in the way of the camera. This is a simple dry brush. I'm using the Citadel Small dry brush. I love these dry brushes. I probably own 3 or 4 of them by now. I can see like the glue wasn't that strong holding his head on. It almost just came off. So I got to be careful of that. Just scrub it. These are very dainty models. But it's taking color really nicely, and it's really showing the detail. You can see all the little bones. These are great little skeleton models. Probably give it a heavier dry brush at this point, then use the lighter color much more sparingly. So we want to get this thing to pop. There we go. Just popped his head off. Oops. We'll fix that later. We'll just keep doing the colors. Told you. Probably going to super glue it on. I thought the plastic glue would hold it, but it was such a small little area holding it. We'll just go take them over in this dry brush a little bit of the front too, just to keep the continuity of this little model going. I really like the bone shadow on this. I used black before on a skeleton I did, and it looks okay, but a little cartoony. This is a little more realistic. We're not going to see any of this part anyway. This is all going to be glued down. I don't know why I'm wasting my time with it. This is kind of cool. See what it looks like. See his little head. Oh man, this is going to be difficult. Oh, look at that nice hole. Keep that nice and dark in there. Probably going to do a wash over that anyways. Nice sculpt too. You can see all the nice contours of the skull. Very nicely done. Looks almost complete. So let's clean this brush up a little bit. I'm going to go in there with the last highlight. And this is the polished bone. It's quite a bit lighter. Let's go in. Yeah, that's nice. Hopefully you can see that on camera. It just really, really brings it out. These Reaper colors are beautiful to work with. Especially these triads. They're just, already tested and true with these using his, layering highlights with them. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm just trying to not do too much on there. I just want to make this thing pop. You can see the 3 different layers of color. So I get these shoulder blades lit up a little bit. These fingertips, these are up in the air, all cramped and grimaced in pain from getting toward the nervous system being shut down immediately from a bullet going through the head. And then we got the head. Let's get a little paint on the fingers here. Get it nice around there. We'll put some, probably a little bit of staining with a wash with some blood or something too on this. Awesome looking. Yeah, we're going to hit that with a wash too. So now let's get in there, and I don't know if I have to clean my brush off. Let's try to go straight with the sand color on the rope. It's already got some of the other colors on it, so I'm going to help it shade it, and this is give it a little bit of a contrast. Yeah, it's nice. Get a little more in there. There, I think we have a skeleton that's ready to go. One more thing. I want to go back with that polished bone a little bit. See if we can just highlight a little bit more. Let's go over some of these spots, like the back of these hips. And these feet. There we go. Yeah, a little lightening up here, just make it pop a little bit more. Not a problem with that. Go back in these shoulder blades. These fingers. Let's get these elbows done. Let's get this side of the... Also ignore that side of the body. There. Very down and dirty and simple. Oops, I didn't know the camera went away. Sorry about that, people. So I'm going to try to glue his head back on. Let's try some super glue on it. I'm just going to put a little drop on the abdomen or the... why isn't this working? We got glue problems. Super glue, it's great to have it the first couple days, then it just starts going. After you use it a few times, it always dries up. Have anything to stab this thing with? There we go. Let's just put the... the head back on there. Kind of like... Let me put it on top of it, like that. Oh, this is my fingers, this is a pain. This thing is so tiny. Get some accelerator on it too, maybe. Oh, there we go. I like how it bent back a little bit like that. Maybe this is like a little blessing in disguise. So just get a nice clean piece of paper right there. And not keep knocking the glue over back there. Find some accelerator somewhere. I'll be right back. Sorry about this camera at this angle wants to just fall. Let's see if we can hit it with a little bit of the accelerator. There we go. Nice. I think we're in business, people. I think that even looks better. It looks a little more... Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to be back in a second. We'll put them on the terrain and see what it looks like. We'll go from there. Thanks for joining me. Before I put them on the terrain, I wanted to hit them with a little wash. I did some Secret Weapon Miniatures sewer water, as seen here. And I mixed it with some, I keep a mixture of 10-to-1 distilled water and Flowade. Another thing I like to mix with paint and wash, especially washes when I want them to really, really get into the recesses. I was kind of worried that it was just going to lay on top of the rope because it is actual cotton thread that I was using, but it's hit with a primer, and also we got the dry brush coat of paint on there. So I just hit it with that real quick. Kind of absorb out some of the pools. I think it gives it a nice contrast against the skeleton. And I like the yellow of it. It looks like it could have been a climbing rope or something they used, utility ropes that someone just used to conveniently tie up this poor guy to execute him. And the 3 layers of paint turned out nice. We'll be right back with the terrain and see how it looks over there. Thanks for joining me. Oh, here he is in all his agonizing glory. I think it turned out pretty nice. I don't know if I can get in there and start losing... Oh, there we go. Again, we're still getting pretty good focus. I have it on macro. Like I said, that's not working. Let's get it back. Come on. There we go. I can't get over how well that turned out. And just, using these Wargame Factory skeletons, like I said before, I sold all the spears and all the stuff they came with. But they make really good skeletons, and just a little imagination and a little bit of reposing, which these things are really easy to do. You got to be careful; they're very dainty. I used the like a welding plastic glue on it, but the contacts are so small. You got to be careful. So I just actually kind of adjusted them so it looks a little more creepy that way, but it works out better. And I just super glued them, as you saw in the last segment, and hit it with an accelerator. So I got to figure a way of doing some blood stains on that wall. I think I'm going to bust out the airbrush and some Freak Flex colors. That's the clear paint. I always like the ghost tints, but I think I'm going to use a maroon and a red. I'll be right back. We'll practice on a piece of paper and see what kind of effects we get. Then something to spray over in this area. It will be very, very subtle. Since it's a skeleton, it's probably been there for a long time. It'll be faded. And we'll go from there. Thanks for joining me.